All eyes will be focused on Milan, Italy this coming February as the host of the Winter Olympics. To celebrate this coming event, I'm going to construct the Olympic rings. Of course, they need to be linked together, and to do that we need to use the Boolean operators located in the toolbar. And that's going to be up here, and you'll see them when we get started. Now, I know that you thought you left this Boolean business in your rearview mirror when you escaped high school algebra. But please don't break out in a flop sweat. Stay with me here, please. The Boolean operators help you to combine shapes that are overlapping. To illustrate these tools, I'm going to start out with an ellipse and a rectangle. So I'm going to go over here and draw an ellipse. And again, I'll use the Shift key to keep it perfectly round, although it really isn't that necessary. I'll fill it with a red color and then draw my rectangle right here and fill that with a green color. So now we have two shapes. Now this is where the Boolean operators come in. When you select both of these, and I'll do it like this, you will see that up here we have our Boolean operators. We have this one, which is and you probably remember those Venn diagrams in algebra. Remember when you have two Venn diagrams and you added them together? Well, this is sort of the same principle. So when you punch and, then what's going to happen is it adds both of the shapes together, and the color is determined by the shape on the lower layer. So let's get out of this, undo our add, and you'll see that our lower layer is red. And this is going to be important when we do the rest of the Boolean operators. So when you add these together, you'll be able to move this around and all that sort of thing. It becomes one shape. Now, the next one is subtract. In Boolean language, that's not. So when we subtract, we are going to, whoops, I needed to undo these. And when we go to subtract, and make sure both of them are selected, because you won't be adding or subtracting or doing anything if they're not both selected. So when we hit the subtract button, then that is going to subtract the green piece off. And so it removes the overlapped layer of the lowest object, and your lowest object is the red circle. So now that piece has been subtracted off and you have what looks like a little Pac-Man. So let's undo the subtract, and now we've got our two objects back. Then we've got an intersect, which is the OR operation. And that creates a new object from the overlapping areas. The piece that it takes out is the color of the lower object. So remember, our lower object is red, and there's intersect, and it took that piece out, and that piece is red. So that's how you do that. That's the intersect. Okay, let's edit and undo it. We've got our two objects back. And then we have the XOR operation. And that takes a byte or excludes the overlapping parts of the object, and that's going to be this. It's going to take a byte out of here. The color of the new object is the color of the bottom object, and it's called XOR because it's an exclusive OR operator. And the excluded part is transparent underneath. So let's hit this XOR, and it has gotten rid of this. It has excluded this, which is what the X stands for. Alrighty, then the last one is divide. So we will undo this. We're back to our two objects, and then up here we have divide. So we hit divide, and it looks like nothing has happened, but if you look over here in the layers, something has happened, because if you move this whole thing, notice how nothing happens. But if you deselect it and move this, that comes apart and this comes apart. So it has divided it into 3 pieces. So that's a rundown of the Boolean operators. To make our rings, we'll only need to use the intersect one and the subtract one. Okay, so let's delete all this stuff and let's get started on the real deal. Now that I've given you that rundown, but I thought maybe you might need it if you have never done this add subtract stuff before in Affinity. All right, first I'll need the 5 rings. So I'm going to go over here and let's make this like that. And okay, that's fine. I'm going to go over here, and in my tools panel, I want to look for the donut tool. So I have the donut tool, and I'm going to shift and draw a donut, and I'm going to make it about 350, around 350. And I know that because I know that's what's going to fit on this piece of paper. So that's how I know that. So if you want to be exact, you can come down here and just punch 350 for the width and 350 for the height, and you will get an exact 350 by 350 circle. But the only thing I'm worried about is if I can get 5 rings to fit in here. Okay, now you need the radius, so we're going to fix the radius to where we can get a ring-like shape, just like that. So there's our ring, and we need 5 of these rings. I think I'm going to take this out. I'm going to make it this transparent. And what I'm going to do is to make sure that we have a black tracing around our circle, and that's so when I put these rings in here I can see it. So I want to make sure that I have that. So let's go out here and make sure that we have our outline, and we do. So now all I have to do is to select the donut and then do Control J. So I will duplicate this and make 4 more donuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I've got 4 donuts, and I can separate them into my rings. Now you'll find out later that it's easier to do this when our rings are in a certain order, and that's going to depend on the color. But I want to get the rings on here first. I'm going to move them around later, so it really doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that I have my rings. And now I'm going to need to give them the color that the Olympic rings have. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is to go out here to File and Place, and I'm going to place this picture of the Olympic rings that I got off Wikipedia. So here we have our Olympic rings. And the reason I have this is for 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to sample the colors of the Olympic rings. I don't want to be spinning that color wheel to try and figure out what shade I need. Also, notice that these Olympic rings, they're intertwined, and I need to know that. I need to know which one is on top so that I can intertwine these empty rings over here. So I would like to have this thing on the top. So I think I'm going to put the Olympic ring picture on the top. And then what I want to do is I would like to have each color. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to be doing these in a certain order. This one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I want them lined up. And when I start doing this, you'll find out why it kind of matters. Well, it makes your life easier to do that. So this one, the first one, I want to be the blue one. So I'm going to take my color picker tool and go over here to the blue, and oops, I might not want to do that. Okay, let's get that back. I need to make sure that I have the fill on. So fill needs to be in front. I already picked the color, so all I'll do is just do that. And so now I have my blue ring, and I want my blue ring to be over here. Okay, the next one is going to be our black ring, and the black ring will get a black fill. So since black is black, I mean, I don't know how many shades you can have, I'll just take it from the swatches. So now we have our black ring, and we can move it over there. And then the next ring is going to be our red ring, and I'm going to take the color picker and sample the color, and now we've got a red ring. And then the next one is going to be our yellow ring, and I'm going to sample the color swatch the rings from the yellow, and now we have that one. And then the last one we have is going to be the green ring. So we'll bring this over here and sample the green, if we can find it. Ah, there we go. And there's our green. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is and I don't think these are in the order I would like, and you'll see what I mean when I start to finish this. I think I'm going to turn on my snapping tool because it will keep our rings lined up. So I'm going to do that so our rings will stay lined up in a line. They don't have to be exact, I mean, you know, but then I'm going to move this ring up, and this will be around there. And then we'll move this green ring up, and this will line up with the yellow one, so we have our rings. Now notice that our rings are not yet intertwined. So we're going to have to make them do that. So the first thing I'm going to do this, well, first notice that right here, the blue ring is going over the yellow ring, but down here, the yellow ring is, but this isn't the case here. So what's going to happen is we're going to be taking pieces of these. We're going to be using the intersect tool to make these intersect each other, and then we're going to use the subtract tool to get rid of this thing that we have up here, and so we can cut this down here. Okay, so I'm going to select the blue and the yellow rings first. Let me see if I got them all. I probably didn't. There we go. Okay, maybe it's just easier to do it this way. You can do Control and like that. It's probably easier. And I want to turn my snapping off because it's going to drive me nuts if I don't. Okay, now the first thing that we're going to do is to make a duplicate of these two that are selected. Now this is why it would be better if we had these two together on the layers, because when we do the duplicates, they're going to be really far apart, and we need to make sure we keep track of where our duplicates are. So we have these two selected, and I'm going to right click, and I am going to duplicate the layer. So I'll press duplicate right here, duplicate, and now I have a duplicated layer. There's the blue up there, and the yellow is sneaking in down here. Okay, so we have those duplicated. Now with the duplicates selected, we need to go up here and press the intersect, because that's going to make those two rings intersect each other. So we'll press the intersect, and the piece that is intersected is blocked off so you can see where it is. Now look over here in your layers panel. These intersected pieces are now down here in its own layer, which is called curves, and you can see the tiny little pieces right there. Okay, now we want to get rid of this, and we want to subtract that. So the first thing we're going to do is to get rid of this up here because it duplicated, and that's this piece, because we don't need it. So we're going to select the node tool, and we're going to select this piece right here because we don't need it, and then just delete it. And that means that our ring is going to be on top in the first place. Now what we need to do is we need for our piece, see how now we only have one piece left, it's down here. This piece is going to have to be on top of the blue ring. So we're going to need to move this up until we get it on top of the blue ring. Okay, and let me see. Okay, and there we are. Because if we don't put it up there, remember the rules for subtraction is that the bottom piece tells you what's going to happen to the other one that's selected. Well, this is kind of what has happened. Now, you don't have to remember that rule because when I moved this piece, this appeared, and this is how we want our ring to look. Notice down there. So all we have to do is to have this curve and then select this curve, and then we've got the two selected, and we are going to go up to subtract, and we're going to subtract that off, and now we have our first two rings that are intersecting each other. So we're done with that part. Now we need to go to the next two rings, the black one and the yellow one. So I need to select the black ring and the yellow ring, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to duplicate our rings, so duplicate them, and there's the duplicates that have appeared. And then once we have the duplicates selected, we are going to go up and intersect those duplicates right there, intersect them, so we can see what this is popping up. Now here we need to have the yellow on the top, and the yellow is underneath the ring. Now, if you make a mistake, you'll know that because all sorts of weird things will happen if you end up getting rid of the wrong piece. So we already have this. This one is on the top. So since that's already there, we need to get rid of that piece. And we will select that piece, the one that's already okay, and we will now delete it, and now notice that right here we have the piece left that has to be cut through this ring so that this ring will show on the top. In reality, what has happened is you've got two duplicate rings, one on the top and one on the bottom, and we're just getting rid of the one that's on the top. So we need this yellow ring to be showing through on the top. So that means that this curve, and I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to try and see what happens if I move this forward. Oh, there we go. Move it forward and it'll move it up. And now we have our yellow piece that's sitting on top of our black ring. And now we can select it. And we don't want to delete it, otherwise you'll delete the whole yellow ring is what's going to happen. We're going to, well, first we need to select both of them. So we're going to need to select the piece and then select the black ring, and that's this. So we will select that, and then we will, once the two are selected, we can select them both and then go up here to subtract and subtract them off. So now we have those rings that are done. So let's click off out of here to the Move tool and see what we have. So we have these, and now we need to go to the black one and the green one. So I will Control, click on the black one, click on the green one to select them, and then I am going to make a duplicate of both rings. Duplicate both rings, and that will automatically select our duplicates. And you know it's a good thing because you still have the original rings there, and it's the duplicate rings that we're really working on. The other rings don't really disappear. So now we have those duplicated, and then we're going to go up here and press Intersect, so those duplicates will be intersected, and that will give us our intersection zone, so to speak. And so we will need to delete, let me see, this piece right here, because this ring is already on top. So we don't need this piece right here. And that's why we're just flat deleting it. So we just will punch our node tool and, oh dear, make sure, I hope I have the right ones. I shouldn't have clicked off of it. Hopefully these are our duplicates. Okay, so we have that, and we will have, okay, we're going to select this, and we need to go over here, and we're going to select our node tool, and this needs to be deleted. So we will get rid of that and delete it. Okay, so now that's deleted. This green part needs to be on the top before we do anything, before we do the subtraction. So we're going to need to move this above the black ring. So I'm going to punch this move forward button and move it to where it's on top of the black ring. And there it is. It's sitting on top of our black ring. We need to select the black ring because that's what's being worked on. And then we will just do subtract. And now what we should have is these rings that are intersected. Okay, we are almost there. Okay, so the last two we're going to be doing are these two. Select the green, select the red, and then we will duplicate them like that. And we have those duplicated. And then we're going to intersect them. And so we have our intersection zone, and there are the pieces that are going to be coming off of this, one useful piece and one worthless piece, because this ring right here is already sitting on the top, so we really don't need that one. So what we'll do is we'll go over here to this, and okay, I think I need to delete this. We'll find out if I'm wrong, and I kind of hope I'm wrong because then I'll show you what happens if you pick the wrong thing. Oh, I was right. Okay, so we'll delete that because that's still on the top. Then this one, we'll need to move our curve until it's sitting on top of the red donut. And keep an eye on this and you'll see how it changes when we get it up there. So I'm going to go up here to move forward and make it sit on top of the red ring. So now notice that the green ring is now going through it. And now all we have to do is to subtract that piece off so it stays there. So we will select this curve and the red ring, and we will punch subtract. And now we can click out of there, and we have all of our rings. Now what I'm going to do is to get rid of this picture because I don't need it. That'll get rid of an extra layer, so we'll get rid of that. And then I'm going to put all these together. And see over here where the pieces have been taken out? See this little red layer? That shows you where the piece has been taken out so that it can then go underneath where we were. Okay, so I'll select all that and then go right click, and then I'm going to group. And that there we have one thing where we can have our rings. Okay, now I don't want these boring flat rings. What I want to have is some effects on them. So I'm going to click on the effects and open my effects window and then give these rings a shadow. So I'm going to click down here on outer shadow and adjust the offset, and that will offset our shadow. See how the shadow is coming out? And how much you want to offset is up to you. The radius we need to adjust. See how that's adjusting? And then we can get something somewhere where we want it to be. And that's going to be here for me. Then after I'm done with the shadow, I'm going to go up here to 3D and press 3D. And now we have our rings in 3D with the shadow. And then I'm going to close. So now we have our rings. To spice that up a little bit, I really want a picture in the back of the rings. So I'm going to go to File and Place and select this Milan arc. And I forgot what it's called. I think it's called, I don't remember what it's called, but anyway. And I'm going to put a picture over it. Hopefully I won't lose it. So pull it over like that. Pull it down like that. And then I need to move it behind our rings. So now we have our rings sitting on the picture. Move this out a little bit. So all the white is gone. And I'm going to take the rings and move them to where it's just under this chariot right here. So align them like that. And then what I want to do is I want to go into blending modes and pick a blending mode for my rings. Well, the first thing I'm going to do though, before I do that, is I don't want that to be 100% opacity. I want to make it a little bit, well, not that much, about 80% or so. I mean, it's not like we have to adjust it now. We can do it later. Then I'm going to select my rings and go down here and take a look at all of these interesting blending modes that we have. And the one I'm going to select this time is called Linear Burn. Why am I picking linear burn? Because I have not used it yet. And so I thought it would be fun to use something, a little bit different. Here's the rest of them. So to me, with this picture in the back, it almost looks like that the light ones look kind of odd. So I pick Linear Burn. I'm going to click Linear Burn, and that is what I'm going to use for my Olympic rings. So here's my Olympic ring signs. And there we have it. My image to celebrate the upcoming Winter Olympics in Milan. And all that Boolean stuff wasn't that bad, now was it? Try out the Boolean operations for yourself. This is a good way to do image compositions. And remember to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Don't forget to visit my Buy Me a Coffee website to check out my posts and support my channel.